I'm Lindsay Smith with RealAgriculture.com. I'm joined today by Dr. Joe Schwartz. He's with the University of McGill in Montreal. Dr. Joe, you're here to talk about science and chemistry and demystifying some of this. Why is science and chemistry so tough to sort of wrap your head around and understand? Why is it so scary?
I think people are scared of things that they don't understand. And unfortunately, the way that chemistry is taught in schools is not all that captivating. And people are turned off. You know, they think that it's all about memorizing formulas and equations. And it's far more than that. We spend our life making scientific decisions, most of which are somehow based on chemistry. You know, you get up in the morning, you decide what you're going to eat. Is it going to be oatmeal or is it going to be yogurt? Is it going to be both? Are you going to drink coffee? If coffee, what kind of coffee? Regular or decaf? If it's decaf how? The Swiss water process or activated carbon. So these are all interesting questions that people deal with all the time, and we make decisions based on chemistry all the time without realizing that is what we're doing. So my task is to kind of introduce people to the idea of thinking scientifically and especially thinking critically, and talking about who to trust, who are the activists who are not trustworthy, who are the legitimate scientists who publish in a peer-reviewed literature. That's really what we should be looking at.
Now, in an agricultural context, we're here at CopSphere, a farming audience, an agricultural audience. Obviously, science and good science is critical to food production, but also to the industry as a whole. So why is it so important that agriculture understand science and technology and chemistry, but also our consumers?
We all eat. That's one thing that all humans have in common. There's not many things that all humans have in common, but that's one of them. We all eat. We all worry about what we should eat, what we should stay away from, and where the food that we eat comes from. And that, of course, is where agriculture comes into the picture. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the public does not have any idea where their food comes from. If you ask students, the supermarket is the answer. They don't know what goes on the farm. And unfortunately, ignorance breeds fear. And today there is a lot of concern about what people are shoveling into their mouth. They're worried about pesticide residues. They're worried about genetic modification. They're worried about microbes. They're worried about hormone residues, antibiotics, etc. All of those are legitimate issues. But unfortunately, the messages that people get, mostly from having graduated from the University of Google, are not correct. And our task at McGill, through my office, the Office for Science and Society, is to try to clarify the picture, to make sure that the information that is out there is reliable, that people know what to worry about and what not to worry about. I think that's one of the most important things in life, because worrying is very stressful and you don't want to waste it. You want to worry about things that are worth worrying about, not genetically modified canola. There is no issue there, certainly not the kind of issues that people are concerned about. There's no health issue. There are some issues with genetic modification for sure. We worry about resistance, but these are not health issues. And yet people have become convinced that somehow there's some sort of unholy alliance between farmers and the government and academic scientists to undermine their health by promoting untested, untried substances. This is absolutely not true. We have regulatory agencies around the world who base the information that they disseminate on legitimate peer-reviewed science. That's really what we should be looking at.
Now, so for your average consumer, where would they start? If someone legitimately wants to know more about how their food is grown or to understand the science, where's a good place to start to understand?
Well, in all honesty, I would say our website at the McGill Office for Science and Society is a pretty good place to start. But there are many sources of reliable information. Science-based medicine is an excellent source on the web. And then there are the questionable sources. Environmental Working Group, for example, in Washington is an activist organization that sees a boogeyman behind every bush. Well, there are bushes out there, and they do hide some boogeymen, but they're not behind every bush. I wish I could tell you that there's one way to really solve this problem. No. What we really have to emphasize is education from early on. is because if people are taught where information comes from and what the scientific literature is all about and why you would trust something that appears in the New England Journal of Medicine or the Journal of the American Chemical Society more than what you find in Huffington Post or in the National Enquirer, then we've got a step up. And I do some talks to students at very low level, even elementary schools. And I find that one of the most important things is to emphasize to them how we in the scientific realm know what we know. Why should they believe me instead of believing some activist? And the answer to that is that we look at the proper scientific literature and we look at consensus, because these days you can find a scientific paper to back up virtually any outlandish view someone might have. But when you look at the spectrum of information available, then you can come to some sort of conclusion. And I think what eventually ends up happening is when you learn how to peruse and evaluate the scientific literature properly, you also can allay many of the fears that are out there. But there's no simple solution to the complex problem. We in the scientific world can't provide that, but this is what the quacks can provide, because they always have an easy answer to a complex problem. Of course, their answer is always wrong, but it sounds very romanticized and very captivating.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Joe.
Thanks.